I would request to call upon our next speaker, Mr. Bernd Lieberth, promoter and senior automation consultant for industrial communication and Fieldbus technology, Profibus and Profinet, and chairman of the Regional Profibus Association for Southeast Asia, to give a presentation on Profinet technology.
Thank you. Okay, hello, everybody understands me? Great. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope some more are coming in. Thank you very much, first of all, for giving me the chance to have a small presentation. And the topic today will be Profinet and Profinet technology. I will give you a small overview of some benefits of this technology and how it can be used in different varieties of industries and also different applications in different kind of technologies. Okay, so if we see a typical automation application today, normally we have an automation part and we have the process portion. So typically from the automation portion, the communication layer will be on one side already industrial Ethernet, which is the communication typically from the automation systems up to the operating stations, and some Fieldbus systems to collect the I/O signals from the field. So here's my first question. Who knows Profibus? Okay, all right, awesome, good. So hopefully and typically the remote I/O systems are equipped with Fieldbus technology like Profibus, and collecting the signals or doing the communication to the operating stations is done by industrial Ethernet. So if we have a closer look on these structures, on one side we have industrial Ethernet. On the other side we have Profibus for the remote I/Os, having actors, sensors, process instrumentation, different feedback signals from the field. And on one side you have Profibus, high-speed I/O communication. So it is quite powerful, it is fast. We have the big advantage of having safety running on these communication mechanisms. Safety or application profile, how we call it, which is called ProfiSafe. And the big advantage on PI technology, it is an open standard, so everybody can use it. And that also allows us to have a standardized diagnostic, because also the base diagnostic of the remote I/Os are standardized, and therefore you can have different varieties from different vendors on one Profibus network and implement this in a planned asset management. On the other side we have Ethernet. Ethernet, well-established technology in our daily life everywhere. We have high transmission rates, 100 megabit up to 1 gigabit backbone or even higher. Then we have the big advantage of using wireless technology, and we have flexible topologies, quite a high flexibility when it comes to the network structures. So let's just say on one side we have industrial Ethernet, on the other side we have Profibus. They both meet in a bar, they marry, they get a kid, and the kid is already a teenager. And this is basically what Profinet is all about. So Profinet combines all the benefits of both worlds. On one side, we have high-speed I/O communication, we have safety integrated, we have standardized diagnostic, and on the other side, we have the flexibility of Ethernet plus wireless and these high transmission rates. And Profinet is the second big standard which is coming out of the PI group. PI stands for Profibus Profinet International, and Profinet is one of the standards for the remote I/O communication based on industrial Ethernet. All right, so just a few things about Profinet. First of all, it is an open standard. Because sometimes, and unfortunately this is still the case, a lot of people think, oh, Profibus and Profinet is Siemens. This is not true. It is an open standard and everybody can use it. And Profinet is also coming out of this Profibus Profinet international of these associations. That's also the second part of my job. So besides Siemens, I'm also taking care of the PROFIBUS Association for Southeast Asia. And with these two technologies, PROFIBUS on one side, Profinet on the other side, we have a lot of answers to questions and to demands which we have today in the industries and what we have already heard in the last few days. An example, migration would be one. Modernization, Profinet can take care about that. We have the possibility, we heard about IT security. Also here, Profinet has some things to offer us related to that. And the cool thing is, Profinet is based on standard Ethernet. That means you can go to an electronic shop, you buy a switch, you buy 2 cables, all right, you have your first few components in order to create a Profinet network. And another big advantage, you can run a lot of different things on the same network. You can run Profinet, in this case we are talking about high-speed IO communication, plus TCP/IP, web services, email, whatsoever, running on one network. We have 100 megabit or even a gigabit, which is quite some space to do a lot of funny things. And that network. And this is taken care of with proxy technology. At the moment, we have in the world market around 30 proxies available, and you can integrate almost everything in Profinet. Profibus, Interbus, RC, CC-Link, whatsoever, you name it, you can do it. Okay, I told you we are quite flexible. And Profinet gives you a lot of different possibilities to be flexible on one side, but this is all standard Ethernet. So we are doing no magic things here. You can have building up a structure like you have it today on Profibus, in a line structure if you like. Because Profinet products have 2 Ethernet ports on board. That is a fully equipped switch. With that, you can create a line structure. Or if you have a central switch and you connect all your stations to the central switch, you can have a star structure. New, and this is now available since 2 years, Profinet products, they have a redundant mechanism on board. That means with controllers and remote I/O, you can create a redundant ring in order to increase your network and your availability of your application. And that is one of the major highlights, I think, because if you look into a Fieldbus technology today, you always need network components. You always need media converter, or you need something in order to increase the availability. Here, it's built in. And of course, we are talking about standard Ethernet. That's IEEE. IEEE means we can also use all the standards what are available. That also means integration of wireless solution and integration of wireless solution even with a safety layer. Because ProfiSafe is a profile which is standardized. And this profile can run on Profinet, and we have the possibility to integrate safety application, even wireless. It is allowed, it is specified by the TÜV, you can do that. And on the other side, there are many different other benefits on Ethernet, like remote access, and this is the point where we talk about IT security. There are different possibilities available, but IT security starts with the very basic things. In example, USB port, right? A lot of viruses and all these attacks are following by portable devices, portable mediums, and there are things available where you can easily protect yourself against stuff like that. An example, USB lock, or you deactivate the USB ports, or you deactivate the Ethernet ports where you will not connect any devices, stuff like that. This is all available. And besides that, of course, we have firewall. There are different security mechanisms available. with demilitarized zone, a front end and a back end firewall in order to protect your automation cell. But those are standards what you need to do anyways. Because remember when I started, we have Ethernet already in the automation. So you have to take care about that. And now with Profinet, we just get rid of an additional layer, which is the Fieldbus. Because the Fieldbus can now also run on your industrial Ethernet. It's not more than that. And also a big advantage, you can run parallel services. Engineering, diagnostic, web mechanisms, video streams, webcams, and also real-time I/O data. It works. Switching technology, in my opinion, was revolutionizing our complete entire life anyway. Switching a switch is an extremely smart device, which filters the network traffic, which regulates the network traffic, and which makes communication very, very effective. Just go back 15 years, how did you access the internet? Dial-up modem was a nightmare. Today, we have, because of these switching technologies, the power to increase the network performance on a high level, like up to 1 gigabit, 10 gigabit, whatsoever. And all this can be done on one cable. So you have the diagnostic, you have the engineering, you have the I/O data, you have the safety data, and so on. It all runs on one network, no problem. Okay, so to a typical automation structure, we have our network layer, we have the Profibus layer for the Fieldbus communication, and this is where Profinet comes in. Basically, you just get rid of a complete Fieldbus layer and harmonize and standardize your network architecture to a uniform interface. And this uniform interface is RJ45, standard IEEE technology, with all the benefits what it gives you. Flexible topologies, wireless integration, a lot of devices, not just from Siemens, also from others, they have already web diagnostic on board. That means going wireless and you connect with your iPhone to a wireless device, you can address the web mechanism in the CPU and it will give you a lot of diagnostic data. So what is the big benefit? I do not need to spend a license for engineering software in order to pull off any basic diagnostic data off the PLC. Now, isn't that great? There's an Internet Explorer on each and every device today. Smartphone, laptop, you name it. Yeah, you can also go and have a Linux or Unix or whatsoever, go online and pull off the diagnostic data. So those are all these different things what you can do with this Ethernet technology. Over my years working now with this Profinet stuff, I always run into argumentations with customers when they say, yeah, it's cool, I like that. Sounds good, very nice, but there's always this but. But I need an additional switch. So additional switch means I need an additional network component. This means additional maintenance, additional footprint, increasing the cost. Then I need I/O modules which are talking Profinet. Okay. I need CPUs or controller which are capable of running these Profinet mechanisms. And I might also need a new method of programming all this stuff. So at the end of the day, I am increasing the cost. You agree? I say it's wrong. First of all, if you look in the Profibus world, in the Profinet world, from the products which are available, let it be Siemens, let it be ABB, whatsoever, they all have a switch on board. You do not need an additional switch. We have devices with 3 ports, with 4 ports, with a minimum of 2 ports. That means I connect my CPU to my remote I/O, and then I have a second port for my engineering, and I have a second port on the CPU for a panel, in example. All right, very easy. I do not need an additional switch. That's cool. Also, you need I/O modules or interface modules which are capable of speaking Ethernet. This I agree. And here I can only speak with the Siemens eyeglass. A price from a remote interface module, Profibus and Profinet, is exactly the same. This is not more expensive. Same price. Then you need a Profinet CPU. This is also true, but remember the first slide I showed you? There is Ethernet already in a lot of automation applications, communicating to a SCADA system, typically with communication processors or with some other devices. So you need an Ethernet-capable controller anyway. And the Ethernet ports on a lot of PLCs, and depending on the vendor, are already capable of being a Profinet controller. And besides that, they can also run the standard TCP/IP communication. The most important part is if you want to migrate Profibus to Profinet, or you maybe start already thinking, how can I do this? If you know how to engineer a Profibus system, you know how to engineer a Profinet system. That was also one of the most important points when we standardized Profinet, investment protection. And that's why we say, you have an existing Profibus, you handle it the same way. Profinet runs exactly the same way. You have a GSD file, you need to import it, you can configure it, and you access the IOs. Same thing, no magic. That means when you know how to deal with Profibus, you know how to deal with Profinet. There's really not much difference. And most significant, even redundancy is possible with the onboard devices. And if you look in the Fieldbus arena, having a redundant Fieldbus implemented on the products, that is the bomb. It was not possible on Profibus. On Profibus, you needed media converter. You do it with a fiber optic ring, and then still from the media converter to the end device, you still have your single point of failure. Here, it is integrated. You just need one Ethernet cable in order to create a ring. And that also makes this technology quite sweet. So now we have our Profinet. Here we have a uniform structure. We are reducing the cabling, we are reducing the interfaces, spare parts. At the end of the day, what you save is just money. Plus, having a high flexibility, because if you look today in the industry and on the demands, flexibility is a very important factor. Downtime is a very important factor. And this is what you can easily increase by adding one cable and creating a ring network with your products directly into the industrial Ethernet or with this Profinet features. And this is the major difference when you look into other Ethernet-based Fieldbus systems, because they cannot do this. Not open, with open standards, because this ring mechanism is called MRP, Media Redundancy Protocol, and MRP is an IEC standard. That means whoever offers a product with this MRP capability, you can use it in the ring. Wow, isn't that great? Plus, we have the chance to integrate with proxy technology existing Fieldbus systems. Here we are talking about Profibus DP or Profibus PA for the process instrumentation. These proxies are even available with an antenna in order to have a wireless integration of Profibus into Profinet. Well, wait a second, that's also quite cool. So you can have this implementation wireless into Profinet. Then you have the chance to engineer, calibrate the instrumentation, and of course, get the diagnostic and the data and the process values. All right. Just to give you a small example, Profibus to Profinet. On Profibus, typically you have a media converter, you go typically fiber optic, and then you have your redundancy on the I/O area. Compare this solution to Profinet. The devices, they have it on board. No difference. You do not need media converter, you do not need fiber optic. Not necessary. If you want to increase the distance, then yes, then you can go with media converter and go fiber optic. And on Ethernet today, with long haul plus technology, we can go up to 125 kilometers between two switches. So that should be sufficient enough in order to create quite a nice and large network. And that will save you tremendous amount of money, maintenance and hardware costs. Okay, some other things. There are a lot of additional features now in this Profinet arena. In example, a function which is called shared device. Shared device is a requirement which comes out from the automotive industry. That means two controllers accessing the same remote I/O and sharing the slots of the device. That means controller A has 3 slots, controller B has another 3 slots. And then also here, you reduce your number of stations. Two controllers can handle the same I/O. Why do we need that? It's a good question, right? Why do we need that? In a lot of applications, and here I'm also looking in the automotive industry, when you see the robots and robot applications, the standard logic is PC-based, and it's mostly customized with PCs. That would be this part. And the safety application is a PLC, safety PLC. That means you have one remote I/O with safety slots and with standard slots. And here you share. Standard slots go to this controller, safety slots go to this controller. This would be an application which can be possible in this case. Then there's a feature called iDevice, intelligent device for distributed intelligence. That means your controller can be a remote I/O at the same time. You create a remote I/O, and the cool thing is you create a GSD file out of the engineering software. That's cool. I want to marry now 2 controllers from 2 different vendors. Everybody knows that this is not sometimes really easy. iDevice would be a very nice solution on that, because vendor number A just talks to vendor number B, I need 10 bytes in, 10 bytes out. Vendor number B creates his iDevice and sends an XML file to vendor number A. Done. Integrate in your hardware config and configure your remote I/O. Very easy to implement. Redundancy, that's what I already mentioned, MRP, or Media Redundancy Protocol, which is an IEC standard. Then we have advanced web programming. Today, the controller, they are capable of also running web diagnostic and running user-defined web pages on the board of the controller. And finally, high-speed applications. And I think now Profibus Association killed the argumentation what we had over the years with EtherCAT. I cannot hear it anymore. Yeah, EtherCAT is so fast. We can do now 31.25 microseconds since last year on drive-based applications. And 31.25 microseconds is the best case what you can get out of an application which really wants to run. I mean, now EtherCAT is promoting 12.5, but just check 12.5 microseconds in an application is unusable because the communication is way too fast to the rest of your application. 31.25 for high deterministic motion control applications. Okay, now I have to speed up a little bit. Okay, so on one side we have Profibus, on the other side Profinet. Whoever dealt with Profinet knows that there is a lot of installation rules to follow. 32 devices on a network, and then you need a repeater, you need a termination, grounding, shielding, and so on. On Profinet, you only have IEEE regulation. That means 100 meter electrically. That is the only limitation. The rest, connect your devices to a switch, that's it. So from the installation point of view, also very easy to handle. Okay, Profibus and Profinet is coming out of the association, PI. It's a global setup. We have 27 regional associations. One is here in India also available. I'm taking care of Southeast Asia, and there are 27 in total. Then we have competence centers. That also means whenever you install and you have issues with Fieldbus and there is no vendor available, you can always go contact the competence centers in order to receive service and help and training for this IO, for the Fieldbus technology. That also is a quite significant point. Then we have test laboratories in order you want to, because I saw there are some vendors here, and I also saw that some vendors still do not have Profinet products, but they are very easy to implement. We have a lot of development kits available, and in the test laboratories, they will be specified and certified. Totally 12 working groups, 140 employees out of 60 companies. That also is a proof that this is a community where all the vendors are working together. That means they are gathering the information from their customers, the customers' demand, and then with this working group, we specify our technologies. On Profinet at the moment, we have 4.5 million nodes installed. On Profibus, just to give you this number, we have 43 million nodes in the world market. 43 million. And yeah, Profibus, as you all know, is already available for quite a while. The first standard was 1991, and we have it already now for over 20 years, running very successfully in a lot of applications. And Profinet is now the second choice in order to fulfill different requirements. Okay, there are also a lot of different manufacturers which are supporting Profinet products. This is a picture from the exhibition in Hanover where different vendors were displaying their products. Also here, I just want to give you an idea that already over 60 vendors are offering Profinet products. Okay, then finally we can offer Profinet in process automation. And I was waiting so long that we finally can say PCS7 from Siemens supports Profinet. And we can do it since last year. Why did it take so long? It took forever. But the problem was not on the Siemens side. The problem was that the specification was not ready for process automation. Since last year in June, we have the spec version 2.3, and that is also the last specification. And in the spec 2.3, we defined 4 use cases for the process automation in order to make the Profinet capable for process. That means Fieldbus integration, configuration in run, time stamping for sequence of events, and a scalable redundancy. These are the